Are Rivians indestructible? All right, so today's fun little story comes from Asheville, North Carolina. Now, it's actually about 10 days old at this point, and I wanted to make this video earlier, but just didn't get a chance. But I figured it'd be a fun story to share for those of you that maybe haven't seen this story kind of rolling around in the media. And it's in regards to a Rivian R1T that survived a hurricane. So first off, let's talk about Hurricane Helene. It was a terrible storm. It was compared to Hurricane Katrina, just devastating, and my heart goes out to anybody who's lost any friends or family members because of that hurricane. I mean, it was truly just a once in a lifetime type of storm. But the story today is actually a little bit more lighthearted, trying to make, you know, some good out of the bad. And it's in regards to an EV that survived the hurricane. So first off, electric vehicles and hurricanes don't mix very well. In fact, you know, batteries, electricity, and water don't work really well. Typically what happens is the water causes the batteries to short circuit, which causes thermal runaway, and then that can spread into all the battery cells and essentially just cause a large, massive fire that's almost impossible to extinguish. In fact, there was a Tesla semi-truck that was on fire in California, not related to the hurricane, of course, but just happened to ignite. I'm not sure on the details there, but it took about 50,000 gallons of water to extinguish the fire. So needless to say, it's very difficult to have a electric vehicle that does well in water. And unfortunately, that's something that firefighters are starting to deal with. And they're starting to come up with creative solutions to resolve that. But as of now, it's a pretty big problem. Now, when it comes to hurricanes and flooding, there's even a video out there of a Tesla Model X during Hurricane Helene inside of a garage igniting because the battery short-circuited. And unfortunately, I'm not sure what happened to the house, but there's video evidence of this Tesla Model X that just kind of ignites in the garage, even though it's submerged in water. Now, how often does this happen? Not very often. There's not too much data out there because electric vehicles are relatively new, and especially those in hurricane spots. But from the evidence I was seeing, about 36 out of every 5,000 vehicles experience some sort of vehicle fire. So that's like less than 1%. However, a vehicle fire is a vehicle fire, and especially with it being hard to extinguish, it's a problem. In fact, the governor of Florida recommended if you own an electric vehicle, park it outside somewhere during the storm, you know, keep it away from structures because it's susceptible to fires. Now, gas engines, on the other hand, they don't explode. However, if you submerge a gas-powered vehicle in water, chances are you're not going to be able to drive it the next day, or if you can, there's going to be a lot of corrosion. It's probably not going to last very long. You're probably going to have to get an entirely new engine, transmission. That's assuming the vehicle even starts if the wiring didn't short circuit during the flood. So it's not like gas engines are that much better. However, they don't explode. They don't set on fire if they're submerged. So from that standpoint, definitely better to have in a hurricane. Now, this fun story comes about a Rivian R1T in Asheville, North Carolina, which was hit really hard with the hurricane. And what happened was this individual, who was previously a Tesla Model 3 owner, actually shout out to Business Insider for doing a pretty detailed story on this individual. He was a Tesla Model 3 owner. He was like full-on Tesla fan. And then in the summer of last year, he decided to upgrade, I would call it an upgrade, to a Rivian R1T because he wanted to go off-roading and do kind of some adventurous stuff. And so he decided it would be a good idea. Well, he bought this Rivian R1T, and the night of the horrible rainstorms and flooding that happened in Asheville, North Carolina, you know, earlier in the night, it didn't seem like that was going to happen. So he went out with his friends for some drinks and parked his vehicle next to the Swannanoa River. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing it. He parked it kind of near that river at the top of an overpass, and he went out for drinks. And at the end of the night, his friends drove him home, and well, that evening is when they had the horrible rainstorms. So the next day, he can't actually go and see his car. So it takes a couple days, and it's somewhere around September 28th that he goes back to his vehicle to take a look and see if it's, you know, even still there. And his friend drops him off at the same location he parked the car, and it's not there. The vehicle is gone. So he obviously thinks the worst. He starts kind of panicking, and his friend points out, he's like, wait a minute, there's like a big mud blob, like 150 feet away. Could that be your car? So they pull up to it, and he starts walking up to the blob, and he realizes this is his Rivian R1T, and he's realizing this is probably a complete loss. So he's ready to get on the phone with insurance and say, you know what, my vehicle was damaged in the hurricane. Well, as he approaches this blob, he notices that the door handles pop out, indicating that there's power still left, you know, inside of the vehicle, and that nothing's really been short-circuited. And it turns out he opens the door and there was no water damage on the interior. No water crept inside of the cabin, and the vehicle works just fine. He actually went to go charge it, worked perfectly fine, and then he used it later on. He was so inspired by the capability of this truck that he used it to power a food truck and kind of help with some relief efforts, including powering a chainsaw. So he saw like this is an amazing opportunity to take advantage of having an electric vehicle. And according to him, he's turned full on into being a Rivian fan, even though he probably was before because he bought a Rivian, but now he's like 100% a Rivian fanatic. So, which I understand why. And the question is how did this happen when a Tesla Model X ignited in a hurricane? Well, I think there's a couple of things going on here. Rivian actually responded to requests for comments, and they say that they test their batteries very thoroughly for any type of corrosion or protrusion into the battery. They salt spray them, and so they have testing to kind of determine that the battery is good to go in terms of, you know, areas where you can take it off-roading, where there might be some salt water, where there might be some water submersion. And then also they said they have certain technology inside the vehicle where if one battery or one battery cell has some sort of defect, they can quickly shut it down and kind of isolate it so it doesn't spread throughout the entire battery. And then there's some other technology here. Of course, they do their testing, but I think one of the biggest factors here is the fact that the Rivian has incredible water fording capabilities. I mean, at its max height mode, you can get 3.5 feet into water without any type of damage to the vehicle. And so obviously we don't know exactly how high the water went on the Rivian. In fact, the entire bed is caked with mud. So it's probably above the height of the bed. And also the vehicle moved 150 feet. So to move 7,500 pounds of weight, you have to have a pretty high stream of water. So we don't really know the specifics here, but the fact is the vehicle works. He's still using it today. And I think this is honestly a missed opportunity for Rivian. So last I heard, Rivian dropped off a service vehicle for him, a Rivian R1T, for him to drive around. And then they picked up his vehicle and took it into their service center, which is like 4 hours away, to do testing to make sure that everything's operating okay. Obviously, so there's no concerns of potential combustion in the future because of potential damage. But I think they should have gone a step further. Honestly, I think they should have just got this guy a brand new Rivian R1T, like top of the line Gen 2 R1T, gave it to him, bought back his existing R1T that survived a hurricane, and just use this thing as a marketing tool for the rest of their lives. I mean, this to me is like the Toyota Tacoma Top Gear moment for Rivian. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, Top Gear tested an old Toyota Tacoma where they dropped it from like a 5-story building, they drove it into water, they like exploded it, and the vehicle still turned on and ran at the end of the day. In later episodes of Top Gear, they even had it in the background kind of just sitting there because the vehicle operated through pretty much every adverse condition they could put it through. And honestly, I think Rivian should do the exact same thing. They should just show off this vehicle as a test of the durability of how Rivian builds its cars. Now, obviously, there may be some legal issues with that because if they say that the vehicle can survive hurricanes, then the next person who happens to have a bad hurricane experience with Rivian can sue them. So obviously they kind of have to tread lightly on this subject. But if they run it through legal and figure out a way to market this thing, I think it's a fantastic opportunity. Can all Rivians survive hurricanes? Probably not, right? It may have just been dumb luck, but they should use this dumb luck in their favor. In fact, right now they're touring the entire country showing off the R2. If you guys follow their Instagram, they're in Seattle, Boston, Texas. They're like all over the United States touring with the R2 and along with some of their R1 vehicles. I think they should take this hurricane battered R1T on tour with them and just showcase this vehicle, show it off to everybody, because you can even see in the comments of the videos and articles that have come out regarding this topic, people are converted onto Rivians. Now, obviously, comments don't mean much, but still, people are enthusiastic about this, and I think Rivian needs to double down on this amazing feat that they were able to accomplish. Well, there you have it, folks. That was just kind of a fun little story of a Rivian doing really well in the hurricane. I don't think I'll be taking my Rivian through a hurricane anytime soon, but it makes me a little bit more confident taking this through some water and some off-roading, knowing that, you know, the battery pack is probably pretty well sealed. But what are your thoughts on the Rivian R1T that survived a hurricane? Let me know down in the comments below. And then if you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for all of the weekly car videos. Also check me out on all the social media at Shwazy_. Until next time, everybody, I hope you stay Shwazy, stay healthy, have a wonderful day.